Hi guys, Mrs. Clark here. Today we're going to focus on graphing positive and negative numbers on a number line, whole numbers, and also graphing benchmark fractions on a number line. And we might even get to graphing those negative fractions on a number line as well. So why don't we start by looking at a number line, and I'm going to place some or write some positive and negative numbers up here. And then we'll get started with actually graphing them on a number line, on the same number line. I'm going to try to keep them kind of all around the same location, okay? So my number line doesn't have to get too big. Before I get started with placing any of those numbers on the number line, I want to put some numbers on there that may not be part of the graph. I may not be actually putting a dot on them because these numbers are actually going to be graphed on them, but I need some locations plotted on the number line so that I know where other things will go. So I'm going to start by putting obviously 0 in the middle, okay? And then it looks like, the other thing I'm going to do, it looks like the largest number that I go to on the left or the right. On the left, it's going to be -5, and on the right, it's going to be +4. But I'm going to set these up so that I have an equal number of hash marks on the left as I do on the right. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the left, and I'm going to do the same over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, when I'm graphing, to be honest with you, when I'm graphing, I like to use a different color than the color that I made the number line with, okay? So I'm picking a different color, red, and I am going to start putting some of these numbers up here. +4. +4, we're on the right side of 0 on the number line, and we're going to be 4 spaces from it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. When I plot a number on the number line, I'm literally going to put a point, and I'm going to write what that number is underneath it, so +4. Okay? Now I'm going to do -3. Whenever I start plotting numbers on a number line, I always go back to 0. Okay? I go back to my 0, and if I'm plotting a negative number on the number line, I have to go to the left. And if I'm plotting a positive number on the number line, I'm going to go to the right. So I'm back at 0. I'm plotting -3. That's 3 spaces to the left of 0. So 1, 2, 3. Again, I'm putting a point to say, hey, yeah, I'm graphing this number, and underneath it, I'm labeling it. That's -3. Okay? So I've got 2 down. Now I'm going to do +2. Again, I'm back at 0. It's a positive number. I'm going 2 spaces to the right. 1, 2. Marking it and putting it 2. My last number, -5. So I am going to be going to the left from 0, and I'm counting 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm marking it, and I'm labeling it. Now, some of the benchmark fractions that we talked about last week are numbers that can also go on this number line. I can actually plot them in the same location on this number line, okay? I'm going to give you a couple numbers here. I'm going to do -1/2 that I'm going to graph, as well as +1/2. And I'm going to start with the +1/2. And I want to start with the negative. I'm also going to graph 3/4, and I'm going to graph the -3/4. Okay, so here we go. If I'm going to graph a half, I know that a half is not more than 1 whole. It's actually less than 1 whole. It's actually a half of 1 whole. So I am literally going to be halfway between 0 and 1. I'm going to put a little hash mark here to say, yep, that's where it's located. But when I say I'm going to graph it, I literally have to graph it. I literally have to put a point there to say, yep, I'm graphing it. So there it is. That is a half, and I'm going to label it. Now, positive half, 1/2, is going to be in the same location as a negative 1/2, 1/2. The only difference is the negative 1/2 is going to be on the left of 0. So if we're between 0 and 1, negative 1, and I'm just going to write the negative 1, and I'm also going to go back and I'm also going to write 1 right here. It helps me to realize, okay, that the half is not, it can't be more than 1 whole. So the negative 1/2 can also not be smaller than the negative 1 whole, okay? So, and I know that's a little tricky to think about, but the reason that I said that was because a negative 1/2 is actually a bigger amount than a negative 1 whole, okay? So if I am going to graph a negative 1/2, then what I need to do is I'm going to label negative 1, and I am going to go right halfway between negative 1 and 0, and that's where I'm going to be plotting. That's where I'm going to be plotting the negative 1/2. Okay? Now the same is going to be true for 3/4 and for negative 3/4. They're going to be in the same exact location, but just on the other side of 0. Okay? So if we are at 0 and I have to graph 3/4, 3/4, as you know from the other day, is larger than 1/2, but it's not as large as 1 whole. So it's got to be halfway between the 1/2 and the 1. Okay? So I'm going to plot it, and I'm going to label it. And I'm going to write up here, to be honest with you, because I don't like it when I get too much stuff going on over here, and it's hard to tell which point is plotted and what it goes to, like what number or integer that it goes to, okay? So now, if one negative, or let's say positive 1/2, is less than a positive 3/4, okay? That means that the 3/4 is further away from 0 on the left, on the right, then over here, it's going to be true over here as well. It's going to be further away from 0 over here, okay? You're going to be between negative 1/2 and negative 1 whole over here, and we're labeling that negative 3/4. Okay? So hopefully my lesson helped you a little bit, gives you an idea of how to place positive and negative numbers on a number line, which, by the way, a positive number and its opposite is known as an integer. Okay? So a positive 3 is an integer, and its opposite is negative 3. Those are both integers, okay? So that's a word you're going to hear me use a lot over the next couple days and weeks, and I want you to be sure you understand what they are, okay? So hopefully this lesson helped you, and what we're going to do right now is you're going to take some time and practice graphing some of these positive and negative numbers, so graphing integers and also graphing positive and negative fractions on number lines, and see how you do.